Hey guys, what's up? It's me again. Me and my friend, the mad scientist, actually no, the angry scientist is what he first was called, and my wife as well. And for those of you who are wondering, my wife is Katrona. She has her own little YouTube channel that she updates every once in a blue moon. And the angry scientist, you'll only catch a glimpse of him if you've seen my evolution vids. But we always talk about many of the things that I later on put on the videos, like, enlightenment, philosophy, politics, you name it, we talk about it all the time. But recently we were talking about recently about a lot of the enlightenment stuff, which is why another reason why I've been putting up these videos, but we've also been talking about the political machine and the futility of it all. You might have noticed that on my channel, I, for the first time, have as my feature video a video that I didn't make. It's a video that's gained some popularity on YouTube. It's from that movie The Network, and it's that famous speech in the movie when he says, "You've got to get mad!" Which is a favorite among many people, particularly among freethinker types and revolutionary types. The type of people who want to move the American public. The whole mad as hell, I'm not going to take any more speech from The Network. And I'm sure there's several of you guys who, you've heard of the speech, but you don't know where it came from. It came from this movie called The Network, which is pretty much about these people dealing with this huge conglomerate of a news company, The Network itself, and the trials and tribulations of trying to spread the truth even while the network is trying to obscure it. And basically, it's a really good movie made in the 70s talking about the shit that we're going through right now with propaganda in the media and the way the government and big business are fucking things over. But I find it rather interesting that many people today don't seem to fully get what that movie was about. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who have seen the movie who are smart enough to figure out what the message is. It's just that the message is not exactly as cheerful as some may think. Many people use this movie as kind of like their rallying cry to, wake the masses up, to expose the truth. And they always love showing that speech where he says, "I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore." Or they like showing that part where he talks about the tube and how it's a lie and how the tube is illusion and, people need to think for themselves. Hell, even that movie, The Zeitgeist, had showed a clip from it. But I don't know. I'm getting the feeling sometimes that people don't really know what the movie was ultimately about. Yes, it was about, the media and big business completely fucking people over and how they're becoming this major conglomerate that's controlling the world and all that shit. But I hope you guys don't think that the movie was about the fact that one day the masses were going to take over. That wasn't the message of the movie. The message of the movie was, we've already lost. Yeah, I know that's not exactly a very heartening thought, but that was the message of the movie. Now, I'll be fair. Keep in mind this film was made in the 70s when there was sort of a depression going on because people had right then and there realized how badly fucked they were. But nonetheless, that is the message of the movie. We've already lost. Now, for those of you who don't understand, those of you who've seen the movie, I think most of you guys have seen the movie know I'm right. Though there are probably some of you who haven't seen the movie but have seen the clips and are wondering, what the fuck do you mean? How's the message of the movie we've already lost? Well, you haven't seen the whole thing. And I'm sure there's some of you who have seen the whole movie. There are probably a couple of you who've seen the whole movie that, now how the hell is it a movie that we've already lost? Well, let's pay attention. One of the protagonists, the guy who you always see in these movie clips, the one who's giving all the speeches, don't you remember what happens to him toward the end of the film? In fact, that one infamous one where he's on stage, surrounded by black, and there's that audience watching him when he's talking about how, less than 1% of them read books, how everyone's paying attention to the TV. You remember that big speech? Remember what happened at the end after he got back on the stage and he's yelling out, "We are the illusion, you need to think for yourselves," and all that? Do you remember what happened? He collapses on the ground. There's a bit of a silence for like maybe 1 or 2 seconds. And then everyone cheers. Because to them it was entertainment. Not a damn thing was Not one thing of value was passed into these people's heads. They just saw it as a sideshow, and the network rolled on as usual. The beast continued to roam. The machine continued to churn. Nothing happened. He'd become another sideshow freak of the network, even though he was telling the truth. I think that's a lesson that people today need to pay attention to. Everyone is now bought and sold, and no matter how much you're going to be screaming about the truth, you're mostly seen as entertainment. Don't think for a minute that many of the people who are up on YouTube right now who are trying to say what's going on with the government, or trying to say what's going on with life, or trying to wake people up, don't think that most of their subscribers who are watching them are actually watching them because they want to do something about it. They're watching them because it makes them feel good to see this guy. It's entertainment. Everything is bought and sold by the machine, including your words and your actions and your will to fight. That was the message of the network. He had become another sideshow freak. Once again, this kind of reminds me of some of the statements of Taoism, because once again, the older sages knew about shit like this. Remember how I said that one of the major tenets of Taoism was that you do not show your enlightenment, you don't show your light, you keep it hidden? There's a Taoist tale, I believe it was written by Chuang Tzu, talking about a woodcutter who was walking with his apprentices, and they see this huge freaking tree, really old, gigantic, enormous tree, and the apprentices are like, "Whoa, master, you gotta chop that tree down, look at it, it's huge, imagine the amount of lumber we can get from that." And the master says, "No, are you guys insane? No one touches that tree. You cannot chop that thing down." I mean, take a good look at that tree. The wood is horribly gnarled, there are worms in it. The wood is absolutely no good. If you try to use that to make tables, the tables will fall apart. If you try to make it to use tools, the tools will disintegrate. Look, the tree is fucking useless. That's how it got to be so old. Later on at night, the tree visits him in a dream and basically says, "Look, you talking bad about me, that's one thing, but don't, realize that there was a purpose with me being useless. It's so that people like you wouldn't chop me down. So that I wouldn't be used." That's a major tenet of Taoism, by the way. That if you show your light to people, if you show the truth to people, you're going to end up being used up. You're going to end up being fuel for the machine. Even though you mean well. Even if you might be trying to enlighten the masses. You're just going to be used. It's funny that was a statement that was written thousands of years ago, and we're still seeing forms of it today. Think of a guy like George Carlin, who was smart enough to realize in the very beginning that, as a comedian, his words aren't going to be taken very seriously, but he used his humor to tell the truth. In a very sarcastic, goofy way. I mean, of course, he also told just plain old crazy jokes, and he loved being insane, but he always threw little zingers about what was going on in life and government and all that. And what did it really do? Did it wake anybody up? He's dead now, and you know exactly what they're going to do with the guy. They're going to make money off of him, just like they've been making money off of him before. I hate to say it, guys, but for the most part, when you try to go out and tell the truth, one of two things may happen to you. If you happen to be really effective, they're probably going to find some way to get rid of you. Or they'll find a way to just make sure that you keep entertaining people. You're not going to be effective. And part of the major reasons why you're not going to be effective is simply because the people you're trying to talk to are idiots. They're docile, sheep, asleep, whatever name, title you want to give them, but they really don't care. I think the best term to give them is comfortable. They're comfortable. You can't tell a bunch of comfortable people to think. You don't want to think when you're comfortable. Thinking is unpleasant. Every time you think, there's an unpleasant thing that pops in your mind. Truth is very inconvenient. When you're lying down and comfortable, all you want to hear is just how nicely things are and how you can keep the comforts going. And America is very comfortable, despite the hardships going on right now with foreclosures and people losing their jobs and all that, but they still got their big screen TVs and PlayStation 3s. They ain't going to give that shit up for so-called freedom. What the hell's wrong with you people? Depressing, isn't it? This is the life you're living, guys. Again, you guys want change. You need to know the rules. You need to know what the game is. You need to know what you're dealing with. And there's a hell of a lot stacked against you. The board was set up long before you got here. The sooner you realize that, the better it'll be. For you, anyway.